Hello and welcome to Live Coding Happy Hour. This is the show where we set out on a journey and you come along with us. We've got an idea. We know what we want to do. This is not rehearsed. In fact, I like to call this the antithesis of a well-polished demo. Sometimes we scrape our knees. Sometimes we bump our noses. Things you do in the real world, and we have a good time of it. But first, let's introduce our cast today.
Hi, everyone. I am Earl Duque. I am a developer advocate with ServiceNow. I'm about a year into my position here, but before that, I was with a bunch of customers doing mostly higher education, senior development, that kind of stuff. And I'll submit to Eric.
My name is Eric Riemer. I work at New Axis, a premier ServiceNow partner in the federal space. I'm a development team lead and also a two-time developer MVP.
You were featured on some pictures at Knowledge, weren't you?
I was. Even when I wasn't at Knowledge, I had a giant picture of me on the wall.
We'll have to get somebody to go, you're that guy from Knowledge.
It actually happened to me at Knowledge, sort of. Ran into somebody, complete stranger, started talking. He's like, you look really familiar from somewhere. And I was like, I've never met you.
Picture over there on the wall?
Exactly. I pointed across the room and was like, is that why? And he looks over, looks back at me a couple times, like, yeah.
Oh, so you were literally like standing in front of the picture.
He was like so 50 feet away, but yeah, it was like in plain sight from where I was. I was like, picture?
I have a picture of Jared standing next to Jared and Sharon standing next to Sharon. It was fun. Continuing with the introductions, my name is Chuck Tomasi, Senior Developer Advocate at ServiceNow, part of the developer program. Work with Earl, have a good time, make content, make videos, fix things that we just discovered this morning.
Okay. Things are breaking all around us. We got to fix it.
So next trick is we do our introduce what we're drinking, because this is Live Coding Happy Hour. There has to be some consumption of a beverage involved. Yeah, Earl, what do you got?
So veterans of the show know that a lot of people drink beer on the show, but I tend to drink spirits of some sort. So I have a Westward Whiskey American Single Malt. I like me a good whiskey, so I'm trying on the next several episodes of Live Coding Happy Hour. I'm going to be trying different whiskeys, and we'll see how they taste.
You're gonna have to have your own little scoreboard of how you like them. Eric, what you got?
Well, I actually usually prefer whiskey, but my wife gave me enough of a look when I went and grabbed a beer. So I have Colorado Native Amber. Which side is this? Medium maltiness and maximum Colorado-ness.
Colorado-ness? That's
yep.
Who's it? What brewery is that from? It looks familiar.
Colorado Native.
Ah, okay.
It is, in fact, the brewery.
That was too obvious. And I have out of San Diego, because we're still on San Diego release, right? I have a Ballast Point Grapefruit Sculpin, and it has a picture of a sculpin on the side. So that's
should this be here? I feel like we're in between.
We're in between. Okay. We haven't launched the Tokyo content yet. We're gonna have to make a new tag soon, Earl.
I know. So I think we should just get right into it, right? So
with hosts introduced and drinks introduced, I'm turning it over to Eric to let us know what we're working on today.
Yeah, so we've got Next UI, and it's a lot different with how you interact with it, especially theming it, than UI 16 was. And it's a little bit of a black box. And it's one of those things that I got really interested in right when I first saw it. And so spent a lot of time digging around and asking people questions. So I thought, let's take the Polaris theme that's kind of the default and override it and turn it into the old school Blimey theme. And get
Blimey.
Everyone has Blimey in their heart somewhere.
That's right.
I think that one's closer to being on brand than anything I've seen so far. It's got a bright green tone.
Absolutely. And obviously we have a lot more to work with than we did before. But actually, just gonna grab here. So this is Blimey. For anybody who does not know, I actually flipped my PDI back to UI 16 earlier today, turned on Blimey, grabbed a screenshot because...
It's beautiful.
Right? So lots of shades of green, some gray. It'll be fun. Okay, so for anybody who hasn't actually played around with this at all yet, if you go into the All menu and you pull up Themes, you have a whole list of themes, but only one of them actually matters for this, and that's the Polaris one.
Eric, can you make your font bigger?
Good?
Sorry. It looks great. I just inhaled a bunch of foam, that's all.
So one of the tricky bits that everybody starts off with is this record is in this SN Themes application and cannot be edited because it's private. And everybody goes, well, how am I supposed to edit this? We'll get to that in a second because you can't actually edit it, but we're going to override it. Something else is we have all these different styles here. And the colors one I think is actually really interesting because it's got some stuff in it that took me a while to work out. Because whenever you look at any of the documentation, it talks about having this JSON object, which is ridiculous. And it talks about properties. This one has base. And it took me a while to figure out. Base does something really interesting because these colors, like now color neutral, doesn't exist anywhere. Like once you start digging into the CSS, it creates now color neutral 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like some of them have like 10 different of them. So this lets you define one color and then it defines all the related colors off of it. So like now color primary, like controls up here and the purple over here. It does a lot of different things, but this base section is just sort of a shortcut that iterates through a whole lot of subcolors for you. I don't actually like using it that way because it just doesn't give me much control. Another thing that happens a lot is that colors are defined by other colors. So like, here we have now color primary 2, which is a variant of at the top here, now color primary. And that now color primary 2 is saying that, the now loading initial border color should be that. So it gets really weird as you start getting into this stuff.
Well, where is 2 and 1?
Right. Where's 2 defined? It's used, but is it defined somewhere?
No. Well, not that we can see. Because this base section takes now color primary and breaks it up for you in the background, and you can't actually see what it does.
Oh.
This feels like it was intentionally obfuscated.
It does feel that way. And from, the user point of view, or developer point of view who's not part of ServiceNow, since it's all locked down in a private scope, it's also like, I don't know what to do. Everything's weird. So yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff. And that was like the first big thing that I had to figure out was this private scope and then what the heck is up with base first properties.
So everyone say thank you for Eric banging his head against this before the show started so that you don't have to.
Exactly. So going back, most of this stuff is actually kind of self-explanatory once you start looking at it. Colors defines all the colors. Shape and form is all about things like border radius. And this kind of gives us a lot to work with. One of the cool things about this whole Next UI is that you have thousands of different things that you could individually control if you really, 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 really want to.
Both a good and bad thing.
Absolutely. All right. There's plenty of times where theming UI 16 was just like, but I want to change just this one thing, and you couldn't. And now you just have crazy ability to do stuff. And all of these style things being split up, at least all the ones that say core, are only split up for convenience. So the core ones are when you go to preferences, you go to theme. And by the way, the only thing that I've done to my PDI right now is enable dark, because otherwise I didn't have any theme choices. Mm-hmm. So core is default, and every variant becomes a separate little tile over here. So when we're done, we're going to have a Blimey one over here too. Well, actually, we're not, because we're going to override all this, and Blimey is going to be default. But if you have variants, they start showing up, next to, and it'll scroll through stuff. So the dark variant is basically on top of core. So it's whatever's different than core. So it just overrides individual things.
Is there a reason why you're doing it on to default instead of into a variant?
So from what I understand, the right way to do this, and thank you to Ashley Snyder, who wrote up this great your first next experience UI theme. The right way to do this is, if we scroll down a little bit, is we actually create a brand new
variant
theme record, and then we override the default theme. So with when I started playing with this, like RTP and EA, this wasn't a thing. But there's a new property that we add, and this is apparently the right way to do it. So we're going to go down that path.
And I believe because there's future changes coming, and they know that this won't collide with those future changes.
Hashtag safe harbor.
How many episodes of Live Coding Happy Hour should we have started with the safe harbor?
Not too many. I mean, most of the stuff we're working on standard things. We don't give away too many future secrets.
So anyway, so we'll get started here. So back on this, themes list, we're going to just create a new record, and we'll call it some themes. We'll save that. And now we have a theme that has nothing in it. So we need to add a theme style. So we're going to insert a new row. The applicability is audiences from like UI Builder. So you can actually have themes that are locked down to particular audiences. So like if one group of people logs in, they're going to see a different theme than another one. And then style, actually, we can, this is an embedded related list. It's one of these many-to-many lists. And we're going, we can just start off by, relating back to the existing theme if we want to, right?
I'm writing this in my notes so I can troll Chuck later on all of our instances.
Absolutely. Just wait till we get to some of the cool things that you can do to really troll people. I've been playing with a couple of things, and there's some fun to be had. Nice. Okay, so now that we have this record, we're actually going to step away from it for a second in order to set that system property. So we're going to copy the sys_id, go to properties, create new. The value needs to be that sys_id, and actual name of the property we're going to grab from this wonderful thing and drop in there. So that's going to say that this is what we want our theme to be. And now we can come back to our awesome themes and actually kind of get started on some of this. So it's actually weirdly difficult to get to the right place for these themes. This UX style table, I don't know why it's so weirdly difficult to do it, but here we are. So
what was the purpose of the property and the sys_id of your theme?
So that tells ServiceNow that instead of using the Polaris theme as the theme for the entire instance, it should use awesome themes.
Okay, but that property looked like it could only hold one sys_id. Does
Yep.
that limit you to only one custom theme?
Well, so each of these theme styles that's inside of here, whether it's a core or variant, are different themes that you can have.
Oh, okay.
So the UX theme is like a bucket full of themes, and then the UX theme styles are the individual themes within it.
Gotcha. So generally, you wouldn't create more than one of these.
I think so. I mean, maybe
You
if
did,
you're doing
have to go back and
something,
change the SysID to say use this one or not. It just seems limiting to have a SysID in a property like that.
I agree. I don't really know. I'm guessing, based on absolutely no knowledge, that it's got something to do with, future functionality and probably an easier way to build some of these things because
Sure.
there's a lot of steps in here.
I'm not attacking you, Eric.
No, I get it. It is weird and limiting, and the only reason that it kind of makes any sense to me is if somebody was in like a domain separated environment, but that's an edge case. Like there aren't that many customers with domain separation.
Ashley's probably watching this and yelling at her screen right now.
Probably. Okay, so we're going to create a new one of these UX styles. We'll call it Blimey. And we can save this just like this, and it's actually going to break things if we save it with this empty style because we don't have anything. So one of the things that is dangerous about these is if we come over here and look at one of these styles, right? It's this giant JSON blob, and we have all this stuff. If it's not valid JSON, it doesn't stop you from saving it. And if it is the theme you have selected and it's not valid JSON, and you have all of the next UI Chrome around stuff, it just dies. And you get a white screen.
Rip.
That makes it hard to debug.
It really does. So we're actually going to come back over here. Let's insert a new row. Blimey in here. It's core. We can save this record too. So I need to actually refresh. Yeah. Let's reload my screen and see, as I said, this is what happens when you save something without valid JSON in it.
Oh my gosh, really?
Here. Yep. If you have a tab open that is not, doesn't have the rest of that Chrome around it, it's fine.
Wow.
And that is any typo, right? Not just the style being blank, but like comments are not valid in this JSON payload. So that'll kill it. Missing a comma or an extra comma will kill it.
You may want to have a JSON validator handy.
Right, so this is actually all that we need in order to make it happy. If I come back here now that it's happy, because now it's just an empty payload.
Yeah.
And let's change this colors one to a variant. And now if I reload this page, I should be able to come into my preferences. It didn't want to update that.
So what's the difference between specifying core type core and type variant?
So core is kind of the base set of stuff, and then a variant is changes on top of it. So you could have a whole series of different themes to choose from.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we have Blimey, and now obviously we need to start filling in everything that goes into it. So one of the things that Ashley was nice enough to give us a link to in here is this color generator, which actually generates our JSON for us.
Oh, that's awesome.
Once we give it a couple of colors, we need to give it brand neutral, primary, and secondary. So let's put some Blimey colors in there. So I actually grabbed these earlier. We'll call that primary. We will, and we can obviously switch these up as we go later. We'll throw a neutral in, and for a secondary, let's do.
The green doesn't look blinding green enough. Oh, there it is. That's the one.
Let's swap those then. We hit generate and it builds all these colors. So remember what I said before about, like the primary 0, 1, 2, 3?
Oh, yeah.
This just did the same kind of thing. In order to break those up. Same thing, neutral 0 through 21.
That's actually really nice. That's kind of built in.
Yeah, so it makes these, range of associated colors, and then we can click copy JSON, and we can come back into Blimey and paste that in. And it actually comes with some curly brackets, so we have a few extra ones. And we can select all and hit Shift Tab to kind of clean things up. And now, right, so we don't have the base, but we've got neutral 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So we now have all of these things defined.
Thank goodness we didn't have to watch you type all those numbers.
I agree.
That would have been a great episode, though, huh?
So much fun. Okay, so now we can save this. And if we come here, refresh. Let's actually get rid of colors here because we don't need that.
Hey, I'm actually colorblind. That applies.
I was laughing more at the poorly dressed part.
Hey, that also goes hand in hand with the colorblind sometimes for me.
So there we go. We've got Blimey episode over.
Whoa! I didn't even realize. I don't think I've ever realized there was a little wavy thing behind the menu.
Oh yeah, there's a translucency or transparency to the menu.
Yep.
And the drop downs too. So if you pull down favorites, you'll see the same effect.
I never seen that.
It's hiding in them. It's hiding over here. It's all over the place.
Have I not noticed that because I'm colorblind?
It's because with the purple, it's subtle.
It's really subtle.
And
the transparency.
And it's one of those things that's actually interesting because it is, in fact, it's an SVG that has purple in it. And so a lot of the time, once you get away from the default theme, that looks terrible. And you can't change that SVG.
Oh my gosh, I just loaded an instance and it is there. Oh my goodness, how have I not seen this the whole time?
But here's something fun. We do actually have a property for the alpha channel of it. Oh. And I was prepared in advance because this is something that drives everybody nuts when they start playing with themes, is we have this now unified nav menu background image alpha. And I'm going to set that to 0.
Okay.
So now we save this, and I cheated a little bit because that one is kind of hard to find. And the SVG is still there, we just can't see it.
Huh.
So theoretical impact on page load of, a millisecond or 3 because it's still loading it, but now it's invisible. And now we have something that actually looks a lot nicer when we're not using purple.
Welcome back, Blimey. You were missed.
So as we're looking at this, there is actually a lot of stuff that I feel like it's not great yet. So I'm actually going to grab this URL and jump over here because let's get my theme back. Because there's a lot of stuff that kind of happens in here that you sort of want to be able to manage and look at. So I've got my instance here again. And, people are always like, well, how do you find what color is defined as what? Because, like in the all menu here, it's hard to read, the text. It's not quite white. It's sort of washed out. Sometimes you just have colors that clash, even if we close some of these images. So there's 2 things that I found really helpful. One is there's an experimental Chrome feature in the developer tools. So if you hit F12, and you can come into here, it's not in there right now, but CSS overview. When you click capture overview, you actually get all of the colors that are background colors or text colors. And you can be like, well, where is this used? And it can tell you and, show you exactly where it is. And then you can come through and find where is that actually defined.
Oh, I didn't know that. Nice. I've never used it that way before.
So this is actually a handy one, even though it's grayed out, is we have this giant block of stuff that's setting the background color. Because we have all these variables that have been getting defined. In fact, let's find one that's a little bit easier to read because this stuff is utterly tiny. In fact, let's pull up the theme side and
I'm just going to point out that Mark Scott in the audience, he was joking around how he colors his prod environments as green, as a go away kind of green, but it points to a good use case for what Eric is showing us right now, is coloring all of your different, how to override all the colors in the different, you're in different instances so that you know which environment you're in.
Yep.
yeah. And absolutely, like super useful to be able to do that. Something that I always did in UI 16.
Yep.
So a lot of these, and I'm just using this text editor, not because we should put this here, but because it's easier to read and bigger. So most of the colors that get defined have, RGB or RGBA for alpha, and then parenthesis var because it's calling a variable. And then it has a variable name. So this now unified nav utility menu trigger background color, which is actually being defined as another variable, which is defined as another variable, because they all point to each other, until we finally come to now color Chrome brand 4, which finally expands to be 48, 47, 75. So a lot of the time when you're looking at these things, it's like, well, but I want to change the color of something. Which variable do I need to change?
Mm-hmm.
And you have choices, right? You can just change now color Chrome brand 4, and then it updates that color everywhere. Or you can get, more and more specific about exactly which color it is that you want to change. So let me grab my wonderful Blimey picture over here again. So if we look at Blimey, it's not nearly as dark on top as we have, as it generated. So let's change that color and make it something better. So we can use our page inspector to look at it. And it usually is something where you kind of have to start moving up and down through the list here until you find the actual selector that is all of it.
Can't use the little arrow and point at it?
You can, but there's so many overlapping things that getting the little arrow selector to actually give you the whole one usually doesn't. And you end up with something a little bit lower down.
Yeah, I usually go like lower down and then like 1 or 2 levels up there. Looks like you found it.
Yep. When I'm dealing with colors, I also like to use the filter here and type in color because not all of these have a color in it. And I can put in color and then we see things with colors. And here we have background, except this is the WebKit scroll bar thumb, and that's not what we want. This often takes some nudging around, and we're in the wrong place because we don't see it anywhere, and we might need to go up another level to header bar, or sometimes keep going up and down and up and down.
We have another safe harbor from Brad.
I can't share a lot of details, but this is going to get a lot easier, says Brad.
Oh, good.
I assume so. Eric, you're making very limited content now.
It's okay because people are still going to want to use it. So sometimes when I have trouble finding it, I will actually come back to this CSS overview and find a color that looks the same and just click on it because these things hide all over the place. Okay, so we have the now unified nav header background color, which is defined by the now color Chrome brand 10. So I'm going to come in here and grab that variable.
Can you increase your console size?
That's a tough one.
Apparently not.
No, hold command and scroll up on it, and it should do it.
Nope.
Oh, on PC it works. Oh
wait, there we go.
Ooh.
Apparently I can. Command plus zoomed in on it.
I didn't think that worked in that window. I thought it was only the other window. But we all learned something new.
So we can actually take a look at this wonderful website that Ashley posted. We can find, because there's also multiple tabs of these. Surface divider, Chrome brand. So this is using Chrome brand 10. And if we want to bring this back over to kind of blimey-ish, it's more of like Chrome brand 5. So I'm going to grab.
I'm sorry. I had to resist putting Chuck's camera on the screen because he was leaning in to read.
I know. I figured you were getting tempted there.
I was so close to doing that.
And it would have been out of focus, way out of focus.
Sorry, I had to. I had to resist. Oh, I should have done it.
It would have looked like one of those wildlife cameras where the animal comes up close to the camera.
Yeah. Sorry, Eric. Go ahead.
Okay, so now I've just sort of added in, that unified nav header background color to be Chrome brand 5. And this is something that we hadn't defined already, because a lot of these properties, especially the ones that point to other ones, they have a default. And so we don't even, have to worry about them. And now that's much more blimey.
Oh my gosh. It's so blinding. This is beautiful.
In fact, actually, let's take that just a notch darker and make that 6. There we go. I like that. Okay, so give me something else that we need to tweak how it looks, because there is so much that we can touch in here. Here, actually, I do have one thing that.
You want to make the text in the menu brighter, or what does Blimey say?
Blimey said that.
How retinal burning is that menu?
It's pretty close.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
It's like a hair whiter, the text,
it's
a slightly darker menu.
It's probably because of the transparency is making it slightly lighter.
Yeah. And that's also something that we can probably find the right thing for and override.
I mean, if we're trying to get in the heart of making things impossible to see, we can make it more transparent so that it's harder to read everything against the things behind it.
That's true. I actually recently stumbled across something really interesting for fonts, just anywhere with CSS. Got a comma, which will break everything if we don't put that in. And that's somebody came up with a whole set of a font stack that no matter what system you're on, Mac, PC, iPhone, Android, it will use your default system font.
Oh, interesting.
So if I load this, I'm on a Mac, I get Apple's San Francisco font. If somebody loads up my PDI on a PC, they are going to get, what font is that? I think it's Avner or something, or one of them. Anyway, so you can actually set it and get system fonts, which is kind of cool that you can do things like that and make it look better. You can also really horrify people if we change this.
Oh my, yes. Only if you back it up with Comic Sans. Oh my gosh, everything's papyrus.
Except the window itself, thank God.
So the code it didn't touch. But yeah, everything else.
Oh my gosh. This is atrocious and I love it.
Well, so here's the best part of this. If we just
Wing
take
me.
that out. Talking about that you control people with this. We can go back to our awesome themes here, and we can add another one here that, in fact, we will just do insert and stay here. And in our awesome themes, we can have papyrus be separate and give it a different applicability.
You didn't
And
even
so
have to
only
refresh
some
that
people,
one.
and you can make it so that only some people end up seeing it. And if we make this a variant,
Maybe it's just the people in Egypt that want this. I don't know.
right? So now that this is a variant, you see my fonts are back to normal.
Yeah.
And if I come into my preferences, I have themes, and I can nothing changes but the font, because that's the only difference in the variant.
Or the masochists on your instance.
Exactly. So yeah, Comic Sans, Papyrus, pick a horrifying font, and you can totally do it. You can even, make everything into a monospaced font. So if you want to do Wingdings will probably work. Now I'm curious.
I don't know if it's capital or not. I haven't looked in so long.
So oh my gosh. It's gonna be bad.
Oh, he may have spelled it wrong or something.
Might be spelled wrong. Some of this stuff. Oh,
there it is.
Takes a refresh before it kicks in. There you go.
We call that encryption.
Exactly. It's a highly secure system.
Let's pretend Edge encryption went overboard.
So Eric, so if you're able to do any basic CSS in defining these properties, including like font family and stuff like that, can you do other CSS like things instead? So I know you're doing RGB, but can you do like linear gradient? Can you do like all the weird stuff that some CSS things can do?
I don't know.
Oh, that's a good question.
I know that there are some places that, well, now let me back up. So, like if we look over here, I can't control background color, but I can control now color background primary. So and the RGB is fixed, so I can't change that either. So some things are RGB, some things are RGBA. I mean, you notice that I put in the hex codes into this generator and it gave me RGB.
Yep.
Because that's all I can use.
Yeah, my gut tells you that's the format.
Yeah. If we come back in here and go back into the Polaris one. So some of the things that it has, like this shape and form, we've got like defining border radius.
Apparently Brad says it depends. Oh yeah, currently only RGB for colors.
Right, so there's clearly, other things, right, where we've got, pixels, percent, integers, depending on what it is that's getting defined. But
we're just setting the variables basically, and then it's running in a.
Yeah. And for some things, you just can't get away from the fact that it's all connected together, right? You don't get to, you can define what one of them is, but you don't get to say, oh, I need to split this one into two, or this one's being reused in multiple places. You're just sort of stuck with whatever it is. So like if you decide that now color neutral 0 shouldn't be white and you want to change that, it's going to change it everywhere. So if something is defined as now color neutral 0, that's what it is.
Which is kind of nice. I mean, that's you don't have to worry about finding all those dependencies.
Right. So there's some stuff that I also think is kind of fun to be able to do. So like, you've got these hover over colors. And if we go and inspect on that, we can actually say hover. And well, that's the wrong one. So we can go up a little bit and try hover. Nope, still not right. We'll eventually find the right level of selector that has.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that. That's cool.
It is. And once you do that, you can actually find the hover colors and define those.
Casey's asking, when you say get the font from the system, how does that work? And can we pull other things from the browser as well?
So that system font stack isn't actually grabbing the font from the system. It's just designed in the right way where, let me grab that again.
It basically says, if you have this font, use it. If you don't, then try this one, then try this one, then try this one. And it's it's sort of a failover thing. And like a PC will never have Apple system, for example.
Exactly. And so Apple system works on like Safari and Firefox, but doesn't work in Chrome because for some reason Chrome uses this Blink Mac system font. Again, right? So anything but a Mac or an iPhone is going to fail on those two. And then Avenir Next and Avenir are Windows, and it just sort of cascades down through.
What about my Nintendo Wii browser?
I don't know.
I'm kidding.
Want me to set up credentials for you in my PDI and you can test it?
It's a Nintendo Wii podcast client.
Every once in a while, I'll send a postman using an end user using Nintendo Wii just to keep people on edge.
Nice. So, what else can we play with in here? I'm actually really.
Jonas, I think you've answered this, but Jonas is asking: how would you set it per user? Like, would you just create a different core property and give it a applicability to a different user each time?
So each user has access to, once there's more than one theme, they can come in here and pick whatever they want, and then it's just a user preference. If you want to force a theme on a user,
you'd have to set the system default. You'd have to change all their user preferences or set a system default if they didn't have that user preference.
Or you'd have to use the applicability. And these are audiences, straight out of UI Builder. And so whatever these are, make a new one with whatever is appropriate. And then, ta-da, you could make it that all of your admins have a different one than ITIL users, for example, or, whatever other way you want to build this stuff out. And then the order takes effect the same way that it does, with variant orders. So it'll go down the list and be like, which one should we set? And that's the one that, people will get basically as their default. And they won't be able to get away from it the same way because of that applicability. So yeah, you can set up an audience of one and they're stuck with Comic Sans.
Common colors for managers.
Absolutely. And you know what? You can even leverage those audiences to basically take some of these out of circulation without having to do too much work and have, seasonally themed ones, kind of like Google does their doodles. You can, seasonally change what the core theme is and just swap audiences around so that, it just doesn't apply to anybody when you don't want them to see that one.
Wait, put the blind me back on. Go to your other tab. Just look at all the clash of colors on your screen now, everybody, with Eric's pink header, Mac header against the green and the blue in the background, just beautiful.
Yep. And if we pull up, let's close this to get a little more space, but if we pull up a workspace, all of this cascades into the workspaces.
Yep.
Right, because it's all using that same theme. So we've got our green links and everything, and some of these colors which don't really get set, like this little outage tag. If we inspect and find that pink somewhere, we can actually override those colors too. And they can be part of the theme. And now highlighted value, no. There we go. Now highlighted value, tertiary critical. Tertiary critical. And there we go, right? So we can actually change these colors too and decide that, those alert colors just don't work with this theme. Like we've got this circle that says I'm in an update set right now. We can change that to not be red. We can make it some other color that works with this theme.
A green you can't see that well.
Exactly. Right? If that circle drives you nuts, you can make it match the background color. Similarly, all of the text and icons up here, you can change. It is bottomless feeling. As far as I can tell, there's well over 2,000 different things that you can set individually if you really wanted to. And I have a feeling that number is only going to grow over time.
We have someone waiting inside the lobby, actually, that might be able to allude to some of those answers. I was trying to think of a funny way to summon this traitor, but here he is.
Thanks. Hey, everybody.
Hey, Brad.
I was going to join 45 minutes ago, but awesome. Yes, thank you, Earl. But I just got back from the airport. I was actually talking to the team that owns this product yesterday in person, which was kind of cool. So,
is that all you had to say?
I was gonna. There were some things. We went over some things. There are about 2,000 theme properties. I put this in the chat, but they're all in your instance. There's a table that lists all of the properties. If you go to Now Experience, that's it. Yep, there's my comment. So it actually,
for what it's worth, from what I've found, this is an incomplete list.
Oh, burn.
As long as this list is, it does not have everything.
Okay. There's probably some attribute that these have that we're using them for that maybe some of the other ones we're not using them for. This may be all of the theme properties that are available within UI Builder. This is a guess because a lot of those are selectable, right? So in San Diego in UI Builder, you can go into the layout panel and you can say, instead of having to know the name of the theme property, you can just select them. And so that's probably what this table is being used for. There's not that many more than this, but there may be some additional ones. Yeah, but this is a really good table to look through because it also tells you, what kind of property you're looking at. You can see the schema field. There's color, font family, font style, all those things. Yeah. But I mentioned this in the chat. This was kind of the San Diego version was this new kind of theming engine, and that engine is being enhanced. We're looking at, ways to make it easier. There is a thing that's going to make it way easier to generate a theme. I'm really excited about it. That's going to be coming out at some point in the future. Is about as specific as we're going to get there. But yeah, there's some cool stuff. And as always, if you have anything you want to see, put in an idea for it. Or ping me on Ness and Devs or something.
Sweet.
Thanks,
Brad.
Spiel. Yep.
Do you have a drink on you?
I actually do. I do have a drink.
All right, cool. I was about to drop you if you didn't. Sweet. Eric, what else? Did you have any other things you wanted to show us, or any funny, cool things, or musings that you were thinking about while you were doing this stuff?
Well, I was just playing as Brad was talking and looking at this list that is full of links, and we can also control the link color of everything. That might be a little bit too dark, but we can, it really is kind of incredible how much control you get over all of this stuff, and how many things you can tweak to your heart's content. And I think for most devs, it's going to be utterly overwhelming when they try to make one of these, and much more so than with UI 16. I think that people are going to have to work with, marketing and branding departments to be like, help me define all of this, because there's just so many things to tweak and play with. And I look forward to the mystery tool that Brad has now alluded to that will make it all better.
Safe harbor.
Yeah, we haven't committed to anything, so yeah, we should say safe harbor, I guess. Trying to be as vague as possible.
Thanks.
Ooh, Corey has a better answer than me in there on the properties table in the chat.
This one?
Yep.
Since the available properties table is populated manually by devs, when they add a new property to the system or to components, the table is a reflection of what people documented. That means it can differ from reality since it's not authoritative.
But it is still helpful, I think, this table.
Yes.
Sweet.
Definitely would agree with that. But yeah, there we go. We've created more
Eric.
or less a blimey. I built all that in an update set, so
Export it off to share, and away we go.
Share.
Yep.
Yeah. In the spirit of Blind Me, we should do this.
Does StreamYard have a theme generator yet? No.
No, this is Chuck uploading individual colors for us.
I needed a whole bunch of 1080p backgrounds for a video I just did. All right, let's rate the beers. Then we can get on with our afternoon. Earl.
Okay, so I was drinking a Westward Whiskey American Single Malt ABV of 45. And it's super good. This is one of the better whiskeys I've had. Yeah, Solid's like 4.5. Like, it hits good. It has good lingering taste. The finish is good. It smells good. I'm impressed. Good
Are you
job.
having it neat, or did you put some ice in there or something?
It's neat.
Very nice. Eric.
Well, I'm now really jealous of Earl's drink, and gonna have to track down a bottle of that because it sounds really good.
He's rating his beer lower because he covered.
It is a slightly generic but really solid amber. I'll give it a 4.
Very good.
I'm actually drinking a Carbach Hazy IPA, and it's pretty good. I'm going to give it a 4.
And I've got the Ballast Point Grapefruit Sculpin IPA. It's what you would expect out of an IPA. It's as hoppy as I had anticipated, which is a nice change every once in a while. I'm not big into IPAs for a while. I'm going to give that a 4 as well.
Wow, good rated show this time. I mean, on the beers. Also the content. Good job, Eric.
Thank you.
So thank you, everybody, for watching. If you've got ideas, let us know. You can put it in the comments for this video or reach any one of the advocates on LinkedIn. Email us. We'd love to hear your ideas. If you've got a topic and you want to be a guest, we'll find you a place. Everybody's welcome.
A few
Be careful
announcements.
suggesting an idea because they might make you guest host.
Yes, please.
Yeah, see what happens, Eric.
Thank
You
you.
guys should do a show on blah blah blah. Oh, great! You come on board.
Sure, go on and host it for us. If you haven't already, check out developer.servicenow.com to see all the different resources that we have. Upcoming for fall events, just following the tail of CreatorCon, Call of Core content is open. So if you go to devlink.sn/CFC, you'll see more details about fall event or next year events. Call for content for CreatorCon. Past that, one thing I know we always forget to talk about on this show, and we never don't do the lights command. Yeah, Alan, don't do that. I unplugged it. It's not there anymore. The thing we always forget to ask people is if you're watching this channel, if you could subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. We never talk about it just because it feels so weird for us to say that like YouTubers. But please subscribe. It really helps the channel a lot. I guess it really does.
Yeah.
We don't make money off of the channel at all or anything like that. But the viewership helps us with projections and knowing what kind of content people want. So if you could subscribe, please, that would help us. You'll get notifications of upcoming shows and everything.
We have one other event that I'd like to throw out there. The Tech Now for Tokyo is going to be August 4th at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern, whatever that is in your part of the world. Mark your calendars. I don't have a registration link yet. We are working on that. Should have that in another week or so. So keep your eyes out for that. Just mark your calendar, Thursday, August 4th, wherever that is. If you're in a different part of the country, we will be showing off the Tokyo platform features. So yeah, there you go, Casey. Thank you. Excellent. Well, with that, I think we're ready to sign out of here. Thanks for joining us again, Brad. Thank you, Aaron, for the content.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for running the show controls, Earl. Everybody.
Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend. Okay, bye.
You remember?